Hello everybody, hi, nice to see you all. Oh, thank you so much for coming today. I'm really excited to have you here. Let me know in the chat where you're from. I know a lot of you already in the chat saying hello. It's so nice that we can do this from all over the world and get together. So let's just say a few hellos. Who have we got? We've got hi Debbie, hi Ingrid. Hi Mandy in the Brush Flow community. She's able to join live today, which is good. Hi Rachel. We got Kathy from Texas. We got David from Scotland. Hilary from Kent. Sorry if I don't get to everybody. We've got USA, Canada. Hello. Portugal. Toronto, Ontario. Hello everybody, welcome to today's session. It's really lovely to have you here. Okay, so today we are going to be painting a dramatic sky painting in acrylics, and I'm really excited to share the process with you. We're going to be building layers, we're going to create some drama, and it's just going to be really fun filled, probably about an hour, maybe a bit over. We'll see how we go. Okay, so skies are one of my favourite things, and I have been painting skies for ever, and I did a lot of travelling when I was younger, and I took just so many photos, so I just thought I'd share just a few of the kind of sky photos that I've been taking. And you know, the amazing thing about skies is that you only really get that one formation and then it's gone. And I don't think we look up enough. You know, there's just so much energy going on up in the sky. And these are just a few of the pictures that I've been taking. And in fact, I was at my daughter's football game yesterday, and the sun was burning really bright. And I always take photos whenever I get the opportunity. Okay, so we are going to be painting a sky. Now, before I dive in and explain to you my setup, my materials and all those things, I need to get a ground colour down on my board. The reason I like to use a ground colour is because I like to get rid of the white surface to start with. I think it's a bit daunting. I like to have pops of that colour coming through, and so that's the first thing that we're going to do. Then I'll explain all the materials to you. So before we start, I just want to read an inspiring quote from the amazing Vincent van Gogh. So Vincent was not only an amazing painter and colorist, but he was actually really inspiring with his words. And I got this book a couple of years ago. I went to Amsterdam and I got the pleasure of going to look at his exhibition, and it is just incredible. So before we start, I want to read this to you because I think it would probably resonate with many of you here today. And that is, you don't know how paralysing it is, that stare from a blank canvas that says to the painter, you can't do anything. Many painters are afraid of the blank canvas, but the blank canvas is afraid of the truly passionate painter who dares. Just think about that for a moment. The truly passionate painter who dares. And I think sometimes we put this pressure on ourselves to create this masterpiece and to end up with something amazing, and we don't take risks. We hold ourselves back. And I think if you can just let yourself go and just go for it and don't overthink it, because at the end of the day, it's just paint and you can just cover it up, you move into a different mindset. And that mindset means that you push yourself just that little bit further than you might have done before. So I'm going to lay down a colour. So this is a 12 by 10 board that I'm working on. I'm going to talk to you about the materials in a second, but I need this first layer to dry, so I'm going to pop that down first. So I'm just going to lay out a bit of Quinacridone Magenta, one of my favourite colours, And I'm just going to use a nice big brush. This is just a Rosemary Filbert, nice big sort of bristle brush, and a little bit of water. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of that white. So if you're someone that worries about the white, or you kind of look at it and think, I don't know where to start by just laying colour down. Don't overthink it. I'll talk to you about the image in just a second. So we're just going to get it down. You know, I'm not worried about it being perfect. You know, I don't need to, you know, spend ages there with a small brush. I can just literally just get it all covered. So that's the first thing that we are doing. Just get that all on so that can dry. So that's the nice thing with acrylics, is they dry pretty quickly. Okay, let me talk to you about the materials that I'm going to be using today. So I am using 2 palettes, and actually these aren't palettes, these are placemats. So, and they are glass, tempered glass. I like to use tempered glass because it's so easy to clean, and it's just a really nice surface to work on. So you can just grab yourself a glass scraper. These are from Amazon, and these actually come as a pack of 6. And then you just can just scrape the paint off when it dries. So super, super helpful. I've got my pot of water. I have a selection of brushes. So these brushes are from Rosemary Co. I just really like the brushes that she sells. They're all sort of handmade. These are ivory brushes, and these are short flat brushes, but they are long handled. And the nice thing with long handled is that you can extend your arm out and it stops you from being too detailed. So you can get a nice stretch out there. So I've got some flats. I have a Filbert and just a small round brush, which I will probably just use to get the out kind of a bit of a drawing in. But other than that, that's all I'm going to be using today. I am also going to be using a matte medium. This is golden, but honestly, any matte medium will work perfectly fine. And this is just to thin the paint, so you can get those transparent layers on, rather than just using water on its own. So as I said, I'm going to be using Quinacridone Magenta. I'm going to be using Paynes Grey, Phthalo Blue, and that's a green shade, one of my favourite colours. Hansa Yellow, I like the yellow because it's opaque, and hopefully these aren't all going to roll off. Titanium White. Now these are Golden Fluids. Now I really like the fluids because they have a really high strength, like the pigment in them is really strong, so that you get a really beautiful colour. They are fluid, so they just glide on really nicely. But honestly, any colours and any paints that you use, you can achieve the same thing for this demonstration today. Okay. I also have a rag just to kind of dry my brush off in between. And yeah, I think that's it. So we've got more people jumping on. Hello from Lincolnshire. Oh, Love Dean, just down the road. Oh, hi Bernie. Oh, that's one of my in-person students. We've got California, England, Germany, Canada. Oh, brilliant, all over, lovely. Okay, so that's just drying off nicely. So I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about the image. Now, normally in my lessons, when I do like my Brushstroke community and my online programs, I will go into a bit more depth about the image, because when you follow tutorials on demonstrations, it is really good for your learning because you're following a process. But it's really important that you understand why you're doing what you're doing, or why the instructor is doing what they're doing. And I have been painting I've been painting for over 20 years, but I've been teaching in person for, I worked this out today, about 14 years. So I started in adult education, and then I teach in my studio each week here as well. And it's really important for you to kind of know the reasons why I'm picking an image, why I'm doing certain colours and things like that. So whilst I can't go into huge amounts of details with you today because we've got about an hour, what I will say is this: I am not going to be a slave to this image. And So many people are really kind of governed by everything that's in that photo, whether that's the composition, things that are in there, or trying to match the colours exactly as they are. What I really want to do is create a feeling, tell a story, evoke an emotion. Painting isn't about replicating exactly what you see in the photo or in front of you. It's about your experience. It's about what you want to tell the viewer in that painting. So I'm going to read just one more of Van Gogh's quotes. And he says, "The creative power can't be held back. What one feels must come out." And I think that is just amazing, because it is about what you feel. It is about your emotion, your experience, and what you want to convey. So the reason I say that is because we're going to be using some very different colours to what's on here. So one of the things you can do is to turn it into a black and white. That way you're just really looking at the values, and the values are the degree of light and dark, and then you're free to kind of pick the colours that you want to do. Right, let's see if that is all dried off. That is nice and dry. Perfect. So we can get into that. So let me just grab a little bit of water. Very dry mouth. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just start blocking in, and I really want to kind of get some of those darks in there. So I'm going to lay out some Paynes Grey and some Phthalo Blue. Now I am a bit of a messy worker. I'm not even going to pretend that I'm not. My colours do end up all over the palette. So if you are painting along, I might work quite quick, but you can always watch the replay, and if you're coming back later, then that's fine too. So I tend to kind of put my lighter colours on one side and my darker colours on the other side. So we have the matte medium, titanium white, Hansa Yellow, Phthalo Blue, Paynes Grey, and my Quinacridone Magenta. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a nice big brush, because I don't want to get caught up in the detail, not at this stage. This stage is really about blocking everything in. So we can do one or two things. We can just go ahead and start blocking in, or we can just get a rough drawing. So I'm going to actually do a quick rough drawing first. So I'm just going to grab a bit of magenta and a bit of the Paynes Grey. And I'm going to keep that horizon line nice and low. You know, my hand isn't steady. What you won't ever see me doing is this. This. No, no, no. That is too precise. That's the nice thing with long brushes, is that we're just getting a nice long mark. And I'm not worried if that's not straight. I really am not. And this is just kind of mapping things out. Just get that rough line in there. Yeah, just block that in. And then I'm just going to get the kind of feeling for the clouds. So we've got this kind of heaviness coming down here. So again, just a bit of water here. You know, painting is a bit like sculpting. You sort of start off with you can always think of it as a bit of clay that you're modelling, moulding rather. And you know, it all comes together over time. It's not an instant thing, and that's the nice thing about it. So that is really all I'm going to do for that. So I'm going to start blocking in now. So I'm going to grab some magenta and some Paynes Grey. So I'm not using any medium or any water at this stage. I'm really just blocking in. Now, what you want to just make sure you do is make sure you mix up enough paint so that one, it doesn't dry out really quickly, and two, you don't have to keep remixing it. It's just really helpful to kind of get that on. So maybe just a little bit of water. And what I sometimes do if I have a ground colour, particularly one that's a bit more contrasting, is I will just leave pops of it to come through. I think it's just quite nice to have little elements of that coming through. Now my paint is drying really quickly. I think it's probably because of the amount of lights that I have surrounding me at the moment. And that is the tricky thing with acrylics. So nice big marks, and just get that in there. You know, we can get something pretty quick if we just allow ourselves to use nice big brushes and just work pretty quick as well. Don't, you know, I've seen so many times people there with really small brushes trying to cover an area, and you know, you'll just take forever doing it like that. So I'm going to do the same down here, because like I said, I'm not going to be governed by this green. I really want to create my own story and create something a bit more mysterious. And you know, just because landscapes are green, it doesn't mean that we have to paint them green, you know. As long as you understand about value, so the degree of light or dark, you can push your colours a lot more. So I'm just getting a really rough, those kind of trees. So again, I'll maybe just make one a little bit higher. Oh, we've got loads of people, Canada, Greece, all over. It's amazing. I love that we can come together like this. So again, I'm just going to bring in a little bit of dark down here, maybe push that a bit more on the magenta side. So it's about building layers, you know, and those layers help support what's happening above. So if I go in too soon with highlights and detail and things like that, I don't have that support underneath. So it's really important that we start this way. And I always sort of compare it to building a house. You wouldn't just plonk bricks on mud. You would create the foundations and the support that's going to hold that house together. And it's the same with painting. We need to have that structure in place beforehand. Okay, so now I have something to kind of work from, and I'm going to start building up some of the layers. Now, what I like to do is, because that's still quite tacky, I am going to bring in some of these blues, because it's important that we develop the painting as a whole and not just completing certain sections. And the reason being is that if you just complete a section, by the time you move on and add other colours, suddenly your painting looks completely different, because it's all relative. Your colours are going to look different from when they're surrounded by different colours. So now I'm going to just add some Phthalo Blue and Magenta, and just a little bit of white. And I'm just going to start blocking in some of these areas. So you'll notice I'm not a delicate painter, you know. I will just slap it on, and yeah, it all comes together in the end. So, and what I sometimes do with my mixes as well is I might just pull a bit aside and just tweak it a little bit. So I've still got that original colour, but now I'm kind of moving it across, and I've got another colour in there as well. So I'm still using my big brush, and I'm not too concerned if I go into these trees or bushes. And I can kind of put a few little bits in there up there as well. So So in the space of just a few minutes, we're starting to get a feel for what it looks like, and what it looks like is a mess at the moment. I'm well aware of that. I'm not in denial, but I also know that, you know, it has to go through those stages. So I'm just adding a little bit here. Someone struggling with sound. Someone could let me know if everyone else can hear. I don't think anyone else has mentioned sound. So I'm just grabbing a bit of that colour. And the other thing I like to do is to really sort of bounce my colours around when I'm painting. So they're not just all in one place. You know, when you bounce your colours around, it adds unity to the painting. So I'm just going to lighten that mix just a bit more. And I'm just going to grab a little bit here. Yes, there will be a replay. Oh, thank you, whoever said the sound is good. Sounds fine, lovely. It might just be that it's a setting on your computer. Okay. So now we have kind of laid everything out. And that is really the best way to just start, is to just block everything in. Look at it as big shapes, whole areas, loose, big brushes, no detail, and just, yeah, that's a great start. So now this is dry, I can start building up some of these darks in here. So I'm going to grab my Paynes Grey and my Magenta, and this time I'm going to add a bit of medium, and I'm just going to use the flat of the brush. So you'll notice that before I was using the tip of the brush. Now I'm starting to use the flat of the brush so that I can get some nice broad marks in there. And the paint will go tacky, so we want to make sure that we don't, what I don't want you to do is just overwork an area. Just kind of lay a mark down and move on. It's just much more freeing. You'll also notice that I change the angle of my brush as I'm working. That's the other important thing to do, is make sure that you're constantly changing the angle of your brush. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of blue to that mix, just to vary it up a bit. So again, it's nice, you know, when you've got the same values, is to have just a bit of variation in there so that it's not all the same. And when you add those transparent layers, each layer shines through on the next, and it just creates that wonderful kind of glow. So just do a bit up here. So I'm going a bit darker than the image, but again, that is a choice because I want it to have drama. And it's nice, that magenta, like you can see that magenta coming through, and it's easy to kind of cover all of that up, but sometimes just be a bit mindful that, you know, maybe not cover it all up and just let some of that really sing and shine. Okay, so I'm going to add a little bit of that in down here as well. So someone's asked, why change the angle of your brush? So the angle of the brush is so that you're not, it's not repetitive, because if all your marks are in the same direction, it makes for an uninteresting painting. So we want to make sure that we kind of change the angles. Now, of course, there are exceptions to that. If you're working, for example, when I come down here, I'll probably bring some of the marks in this direction to give you that kind of lead into the picture. We want kind of bigger marks at the top of the sky and smaller at the bottom. So it's just a really good way to not make it look repetitive. So I use matte medium because I personally prefer a matte finish to my paintings, but you can use gloss or satin. It doesn't really matter, it's a personal preference. So just kind of bringing a little bit of that down here as well. You know, I could even bring a bit through here. You'll notice I'm always stepping back when I'm working. I'm just going to have that lighter colour. So I'm not constantly on top of my painting. I'm stepping back so that I can view it from a distance. And the reason I do that is because that's how painting should be viewed, from a distance. And when you're on top of it, sometimes it's hard to really see it. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to add a bit more of that dark down here. So just, again, I'm just keeping it nice and loose. I'm still using my nice big brush. You know, it might be tempting to go small. It's at that middle stage where it, you know, feels a bit messy. But I think when you've been painting for as long as I have, you kind of accept that stage because you know you just move through it. Whereas I think, particularly when you're learning, you think you're making a mistake and it shouldn't look like that, but I'm always telling my students, nope, that never goes away, and it genuinely doesn't. So I'm just bringing in a few more of those darks. Just feel like I want to create a bit more drama, so I'm kind of chipping away. Okay, so I'm going to start to lighten the mix a bit now. It's really important when you lighten your mix that you just do it really gradually, because if you go too light too quickly, you're going to go from a really dark to a really light, and it's just going to look stuck on and very flat. So I will just add a little bit of white to my mix and I will push it. So I might have some warmer bits in there and then I might have some cooler bits. So generally, if, for example, if you're painting at a sunset, you'll find that these marks will become cooler as you move away and warmer as you move towards the sun. So I'm just really carefully popping in a few sort of peepholes, and I'm just doing it nice and gradually. It's tempting to start putting on those highlights very quickly, and we don't want to do that. So just checking the comments. So I might use the edge of my brush, and there might be occasions where I use the flat of my brush, but I'm still using that nice big brush to kind of avoid the detail. And I might add a bit more blue. You know, it's such a fun way to work when you take the pressure off yourself to, you know, you can just almost see. I'm always trying to encourage my students to do studies and not see things as finished paintings all the time, because it really does eliminate that pressure. So coming down here, I'm just adding a bit more white. Oh, thank you, Bernie. I'll be getting you to do this on Monday. Right. So again, I can just kind of put a few little bits in there, but again, I don't want to go too light. So I'm going to move into a bit of the blue. So again, I'm just really mixing these colours up, and I'm not going to bring in anything too vibrant at this stage because I kind of want to leave those more saturated colours, those more lighter colours towards the end. So I'm really creating that support system for everything else. Just a bit more blue. So I'm just adding a bit more white. So I'm going to add a little bit more of the magenta because it's looking a bit green, and I just want to lighten that a bit more. Sometimes when you mix a colour on your palette and you put it on your board, you ever get that, it looks really the colour that you think it's going to be on your palette, and then you put it on your board and it looks very different. And that is because colour is relative, like I said earlier. So your colours will look very different depending on what colours you have already there. So I'm going to just move to a smaller brush now. This is just a number 6. So what I tend to do with my mixes is I'll have a few colours in the mix so that I can dip in and out of them. So I can kind of bring in a bit more of the light. And I'm just gradually going to start lightening that a little bit more. It's the fun bit when you get to those lighter colours and start to bring in some of the detail, but we are really holding off. And you'll notice as you come down here, it's lighter, and I'm going to just add a little bit of the yellow. My paints are drying out really quickly. And sometimes I'll add a little bit of medium, and then I can just almost kind of glaze it over so it's just not as heavy. So let's bring a little bit of that up here. It's got that nice sort of sharp. Sometimes you might want a little bit of contrast, like across here, which is quite nice. So we're just moving that brush around and just creating that little bit of energy. You know, we can grab this brush here, and as this dries, we can come back up here if we want to, and just kind of bring out some of these colours a little bit more. Grab a little bit of medium, just thin that down. You notice I dab it onto my rag so that it's not super heavy. It's just got those lovely little peepholes in there. And I might add a bit of magenta to warm it up. You know, we don't want them to be too bright, because the focal point it really is around here, and that's where we want to draw the eye. So, you know, whilst we want to create a little bit going on up here. Don't want to detract too much. I'm just going to bring in a bit more that magenta. And you see how I'm kind of using the brush to create those kind of lines and that lead in. So I'm going to grab my white and I'm just going to start lifting this a bit more. A little bit of medium. Bring in a few more of those lighter marks. It's just, you see how now I'm starting to lighten it. Those supporting layers are helping that top layer to really kind of stand. You know, if I put that, if I had put that on just a light background or hadn't really built that up, it just wouldn't work as well. And I'm going to bring in some lighter colours in a minute, some yellows. What have we got going on in the chat here? Loving the way you're coming together, magenta, the background, stormy sky. Oh, what other colours work for a stormy sky? You know, it's not really about the colours, it's just about the energy that you're creating. But, you know, moody kind of skies, I just wanted to create some more kind of warm magentas and purples, but you know, you can really use any colour that you want. It's just, you want those darks in there really, then kind of lighter colours. So I'm just bringing that a little bit heavier. So your freedom comes from ease, just comes from confidence that comes with practice. Yeah, I think so. I think when you realise that it's just paint and you can cover it up, it really does take away that worry of getting it right, and kind of, you know, knowing the process, trusting yourself, and learning the steps with colour and all those things can really help as well. So I'm just lightening that a little bit. So just bringing a few marks down here. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I'm going to just do a little bit down here in the sort of tree area. So I don't want to do a typical green colour as such. So I'm going to use some Paynes Grey and some magenta, and I'm just going to add a little bit of yellow so that it just kind of pushes it a little bit towards the green, but not super green. And we can just kind of make some marks through here. So you notice how I'm not going too light. I don't want to make this too bright because, again, the attention really is in the sky. Might kind of put a few little marks down here. So it's got a little bit of green in there, but not too much. Even that feels a bit too much. And that's the thing, you know, if it doesn't feel right when you put it down, if you're quick, go over it, or just let it dry and then go over it. Right. Okay, so let's bring in some yellow. Now I just want to create a bit of contrast. We've got lots of purples and blues, and the yellow is going to be the star of the show. So I'm going to grab some white and just a little bit of yellow and a little bit of magenta. So even that magenta was just too much. And I'm going to start with a little bit of medium just to thin it down. And I'm just going to start. There we go. And again, we'll build up those layers. So I might just add a little bit more of that magenta. So again, I'm just turning my brush, and I'm not going on too heavy too soon. Really want to save those highlights for the end. Maybe a few little bits up here. Maybe down here, I'm just going to thin that down really, and just pop a few little bits down here. And again, I can grab some of that blue mix and I can mix it in so that it's not too bright, but stepping back, always stepping back. And then I can lift that colour a bit more. Not too much though. You know, I can pop a little bit down and just have a look, see how that feels. So you might put it down, it might feel a bit yellow, you know, and that's the thing, it's all about trial and error. You know, don't think just because, oh, she's been painting 20 years, she should be able to put the colour down straight away. It doesn't work that way. Like, you have to just have the confidence to know that, you know, you're doing great, is what I'm trying to say. You know, I think as creatives, we're quite hard on ourselves and we think we should be doing better. And that it should just come together, but it takes time, and it takes believing in yourself, because you can do it. You just need to practice, and you just need to learn, and whether that's 20 minutes a week or whether that's an hour a day, you know, every time you pick up your brush, you're moving forward, and you can watch instructions and they will help you, but it's in the doing. And that's why in my brush flow community, we go through different demonstrations. We look at different subjects. We look at the composition, we look at the layering of colour, we look at light, we look at all those things, and we do those things together. And that's where you really kind of move forward, and not just trying to do it on your own all the time, because I think it can be a little bit lonely sometimes. So I'm just grabbing in that yellow, and I'm just going to lighten that a little bit, and I will come to the comments shortly. So I can sort of dip into my colours, and I can, you know, I can break bits up and move things around, and do a little bit down here. So what have we got in the comments? Your painting's coming along. Sorry, they're moving very quickly. Hi Barry. Moving along so quickly. Love the way it's coming together. Oh, you've learnt so much in 36 minutes. Oh, I'm so pleased. I might be dead in 20 years, can I get between? Yeah, you know, that's the thing with painting, is there's no, you know, it's not like sport, is it, where you get to a certain age and it becomes tougher. you know, a lot of people don't start until they're retired or when they're older. You know, there's no date on it. That's a great thing. You can absolutely learn. So yeah, definitely. So I'm just lightening this up a little bit, and I'm just popping a few bits across here. Just pulling in a little bit of light as it comes across the landscape. And if it feels a bit too light, I might just darken that a little bit. See, I like little things like this, where you've got that magenta coming through there. That's nice. I wouldn't want to cover that up, but I quite like that. Loving the colours, thank you. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun when you can push yourself, and not be a slave to the image. Yeah, so we've been doing this for maybe 40 minutes, and we've got something together. So your eye is drawn to the flicks of the blue, the upper left corner. Oh yes, so it's probably coming across a little bit brighter on the camera than it actually is here. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like if your eye is being drawn somewhere that you don't want it to, you can absolutely kind of change that. And that's the thing, you know, you don't just lay a colour down and it's done. You might have to come back. As you start moving around the painting, you will kind of come back and change things. So, you know, if that is feeling too bright once you've done everything else and it feels a bit too much, then, you know, you can just kind of grab your colour and just kind of pull it down a little bit, or maybe darken it just a little bit. And pull some. It's all about those kind of back and forths. You know, you add bits in, you take it away, things start to look differently as your colours develop. So yeah, absolutely. And you know, this is just it's just a study really, and you can spend as long as you want or as little as you want to. Oh, I'm glad you're feeling inspired. Oh, you were liking it. Oh, it's gone now. Yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. You know, you can bring it back in. You know, your colours still, and you might even lighten some bits, or as they move down, so I might add a bit of white to my mix, kind of bring some of those bits down. Or I might put that on and think, oh, that's a bit too much, so I'm going to change that. You know, just move around and develop it at the same time. Never just work on one bit until that bit's final. Just keep moving. I might maybe bring some bits down here. So breaking up some of those flatter areas. We don't want just one bulk of colour. Yeah, maybe I'll even lighten down here a bit where the trees are. Oh, hi Tim. Tim's in the brush flow community as well. Nice to see you, Tim. So I've got some of my in-person, some of my onlines. Walk away, yes, that's what I'm always telling you to do, isn't it? Walk away, yes, I should walk away. Yeah, it's the thing is knowing when to stop, isn't it? And I think that's some really good advice. In fact, I was saying my daughter, she sees me painting, she's only 9, will say, "Mummy, walk away." She hears me say it all the time. But yeah, we could just keep going and going. But yeah, I should be walking away. Just a couple of little touches here and there, I think. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add just a little bit more down here, and then I will walk away. And that's the thing, if you don't know, sometimes it's hard to know when a painting's finished. And what I always say is walk away. That's why Tim said that. Walk away, leave it for a while, leave it for a few days, and come back to it with fresh eyes. Because when you're on top of something, it's very easy to just keep going and going and going. But when you step away and you come back, you often spot something that you perhaps missed before. And that's, yeah, why it's good to do that. So just a few more little touches, I think, and then I will walk away. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there because, no, I'm not. I'm just going to do one more thing. So I'm just going to lighten the white, tiny bit of yellow, and I'm just going to add in just a few more highlights. You know, and sometimes you do something and you think, oh no, now I've messed up. But you haven't really, because you can just go in and change it. So I think, yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. Okay, right, let's have a look in the comments. You're an amazing teacher. I feel so encouraged. Oh, thank you. That's really kind. Love the colours. Getting wonderful advice. Can't wait to actually see it on Monday. Yes, Bernie, I'll make sure it's out for you. But do the colours change as it dries? So, do you know, professional acrylics generally shouldn't have a shift in colour, but they do. They do tend to dry darker. So it's likely that I will maybe come back and lighten it because they do start to dry darker. So no attempts to capture the light misty no, do you know, yeah, I mean, we could do that. You could absolutely do that. It's just a personal thing. But yeah, you could kind of get some of that kind of just sort of dragging it down with a little bit of light if you want to kind of pull that down. Just keep it nice and light and create that kind of effect. It depends what you're going for, really, but you could definitely do that. So beautiful, it's great, wonderful painting. Oh, hi Dan. Dan's another brush flow student. It's nice to see you all here. Yes, so hopefully you enjoyed that. I encourage you to just go away and just have a little bit of a play. Don't overthink it. Just say to yourself, this is a study. I'm going to keep this really casual. I'm going to just let myself go. I'm going to build up the layers. I'm going to add those glazes. I'm going to start with my big brushes and then I'm going to hone in and I'm just going to just enjoy the process. So, and if you did enjoy that process, and you do want to continue learning, then I'm really excited. My brush flow community is open. So I have put a link in the chat. It's at the top. If you want to go ahead and check that out, it's open for the next 5 days. And it's just such a wonderful community. And I genuinely say that they're so supportive of each other. We have live demos, we have meetups, we have Q&A sessions, we do all the things, we work on different subjects, and it's just such a really lovely way to come together as artists and work on a process, whether you're doing acrylics or oils, yeah, super, super fun. Okay, so yeah, thanks, so inspiring. I love the way you explain things. Oh, thank you. And I love, oh, hi. Oh, I've got so many of you here. It's nice to see you all here. So yeah, go away, have some fun and enjoy the process. And yeah, happy painting everyone. And I will see you all very soon. Bye everybody, bye.